to another episode of the KnoBallPod. I'm Lewis, joined with my co-host Luke today, and we are talking about NFL Draft Recap. Joining us today, we have a few special guests, a few football connoisseurs. If you guys want to introduce yourselves real quick.
All right. Thanks for having us, guys. I'm Aiden. I'm a student here at Charlotte. Glad we could come to the podcast, maybe add some value to the show. You know?
What's up? My name is Tyler. I'm an NFL off-season expert. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram. Anyway, I know all things off-season, so that's why I'm here.
Awesome. So again, fellas, thank you all so much for joining us on the show today. Super excited to have you. So much to talk about today. The NFL draft just happened. A lot of things happened that we thought would happen, and a lot of things happened that made absolutely no sense. So we're going to break all that down, talk about winners and losers, and of course break down the drafts of some of our favorite teams. So let's start with winners and losers of the draft. Who do you guys, we'll start with the winners. Teams that you guys felt that had incredible drafts, just kind of glossing over some of their highlight picks. Who do y'all think? If whoever wants to go.
I'll kick us off.
Yeah, for sure.
New York Giants, I think, had a home run draft. I mean, you get BPA in the first round. You go Bill Carter. Really is a luxury pick for them, seeing as where their defensive line already is. But I love that pick. Then you trade back into the first, and you get your quarterback of the future. Okay, love that pick. And then even further down, you get Cam Scatterboo, who's my steal of the draft. All right, you can bank that. He is going to be the best running back in this class. So that's three guys right there. 3 guys out of 7 or 8 in a draft class is a home run if you look at it 3 years down the road. So personally, Giants are my favorite behind the Panthers, but we can get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you got it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
I appreciate it. So my favorite of the draft was actually none other than the Las Vegas Raiders. Their first draft under the Tom Brady era as the owner. All right. Last year, statistically, the Raiders were the worst team rushing. Last in rushing touchdowns. Last in yards per game. Last in yards per carry. They went ahead and picked up Ashton Genty, who is a generational talent at the running back position. He will instantly move the needle. He is going to be a stud, all right? He's a day one starter. And not to mention, they went ahead and picked up Jack Beck, who TCU wide receiver. I don't know if you're watching the film, fellas, but that guy is a stud. He is going to, alongside of Brock Bowers, he's going to be probably their number 2 option. If I had to guess, he's going to start on day 1 as well. And then obviously you beef up the O-line, go ahead and protect Geno Smith, who you just picked up in the offseason, sign him to a nice 2-year contract. So we'll see how those guys pair. I think Charles Grant's going to be a dog for them out of William & Mary. He obviously not playing the best competition during college, but I think he's going to be very well-rounded. And then sneak pick of the draft right here, Tommy Mellett. He's your Julian Edelman, okay? He's a wide receiver / quarterback. He's going to be in there probably running the slot, if I had to guess, if he makes the roster, of course, but I think he will. But yeah, Las Vegas Raiders, I give him an A+, personally. My favorite draft.
No, for sure. Those are good points there. I'll move on. My team that I think had an absolutely impeccable draft is the Detroit Lions. Might be hard for you to hear, I know. But look, they checked every box they needed in the offseason. Obviously, of course, the biggest thing they probably needed as a team in a whole is an edge rusher. And yeah, they probably didn't address that. However, they did beef up that defensive line, drafting Tyleik Williams in the first round. You're going to have a guy that can stop the run on top of Aiden Hutchinson, who can rush the pass so well. So again, you beef up that defensive line, which is People sleep on the defensive line in football. That's the bread and butter of a defense. If you can stopping the run and pressuring the quarterback, that's half the battle right there. If you can do that, your secondary will do just fine. So again, they add those 2 guys. They beef up their offensive line. Obviously, there were a couple holes there, especially as the season went on when they had more injuries than any other team in the NFL. So they get Tate Retledge and Miles Frazier, who are both guys that you could even see starting time this year out of, and they just increased their depth. And one thing that I will say that I'm not huge on, but I do love that receiver out of Arkansas, Isaiah Tesla. People say they traded up a little too far for him. They did give up 2 third-round picks, which, that's pretty hindsight, I would argue. Who knows how that's going to play out. But here's what I like about him. He's 6'4", and he's 214. You can't teach height, and you can't teach those skills, right? That is nature blessing you with those abilities. But what you can teach is route running, catching. You can teach those things that the mental aspects of the game, but you can't teach that physical element. So not every receiver is going to be 6'4". So you get a 6'4" guy and develop him the right way, then you've automatically got yourself a guy that can play off ball of Amon-Ra, and he's going to win those jump ball one-on-one guys. Not the fastest guy, but again, you look at a team that already has so much offensive talent with that incredible running back duo. They have Sam Laporta, who arguably might have been who was a top 3 tight end probably in the NFL last year. I mean, again, Amon-Ra, when he's healthy, is a top 5 receiver in the NFL, no doubt. So again, they addressed a lot of needs. I think they got a lot better. You gave Jared Goff more options on the O-line. You beefed up your defense. I think that they are going to be an exciting team coming up, and this might be the time with these new additions they can finally get over the hump.
I will add to that right quick.
Yeah.
You lose Aaron Glenn and you lose Ben Johnson over the offseason, so I think these picks kind of help address that. Obviously, have they picked up a new DC yet?
Definitely. I would imagine by this point they would have had to, right?
So I think you're saying here that these guys kind of help fill that gap, if you will, for the lack of, I guess, experienced offensive and defensive coordinators. So that's a good team. I like the Lions.
Yep. Yeah. Moving to our last winner of this draft, I would have to take the Cleveland Browns. They straight fleeced the Jaguars for the number 2 overall pick when Jacksonville moved up. I mean, they got the 5th round or the 5th selection in the draft, along with the 4th, the 6th, and next year's first. And I don't think the Jaguars are going to have a very good season, so that's probably going to be a pretty high pick. Moving back to 5, you pick up Mason Graham, put him next to Myles Garrett. That's a pretty good D-line right there. Sure, you pass on Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, but Mason Graham's that guy for them. They didn't need the edge help; they needed the interior help. Beyond that, grabbing Carson Schwarzenegger in the 2nd round was a great pickup for their linebacking core. Their whole secondary was weak last season, so that was a good pickup for them. And then Quinshon Judkins out of Ohio State was a great pickup as well. With Nick Chubb being injury prone and yet to sign on a team, they needed the running back help.
For sure. No, I don't hate the Browns at all. I think that they had a pretty decent draft. I don't love their quarterback situation right now. We will touch more on that here in a little bit. But I think that they do have a bright future. They got some great guys. Another guy I love that they got, Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee on day 3. He is an absolute baller at running back. He and Judkins, they are going to be a 1-2 punch down in Cleveland. I promise you that. Sampson was probably a top 5 running back going into this draft, I felt. So the fact that he fell so low to the Browns, incredible for that organization. I'm excited to see where they go with that. So moving on from winners, losers. There were, as much as there were great drafts, there were just as equally some teams that had horrible drafts. So one team that I think had an absolutely horrendous draft, in my opinion, was the Washington Commanders. I think that they didn't address their biggest needs early enough. Again, I look at the 1st round. What have they done in the offseason? They brought in some people on. They brought in some defense, down at the line. They brought in some offensive line help. They brought in Deebo Samuel. The things that they probably needed the most, again in that 1st round, was arguably secondary. And you get down to the late 20s of the 1st round pick. Will Johnson is just sitting on the board. I think that was the perfect pick for the Commanders. and they pass up for him for Josh Connerly out of Oregon. Now, again, I don't hate that pick necessarily just because he is a good offensive lineman. I mean, again, he's an All-American guy. However, I think that that wasn't your biggest need, and you could have addressed your biggest need day one, and instead you get Trey Amos in the second round, who I'm not very high on at all. I thought he should have probably been a third round fringe day 3 pick. So again, I just don't love what the Commanders did at all. So
I also think from a numbers perspective, they only had 6 picks, or 5 or 6 picks, and when you're not having that many picks, it's going to be harder to hit on picks.
Yeah.
You need more picks to hit on more picks.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
And again, with such a lack of picks, you got to use those to address your biggest holes.
Yeah.
Your biggest hole was not offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Your biggest hole on your team is your secondary, and you didn't address that until late in the second round with a guy that I doubt will probably make an impact at all in the NFL. So again, I'm not big on that at all. Anyway, that's my take on that.
One of my losers is the Jets, simply because they still have a lot of questions just around the board. Like, they didn't get a quarterback, so I guess they're riding with Justin Fields, which I'm a believer. But a lot of people in the league are going to say he's not the guy of the future. They go tackle. I would never hate going tackle in the first round. That is a great pick. That's where you win and lose in this league, is in the trenches. So I won't hate on that. It's just nothing jumps off the page at you. It just looks like they're going to be not very good again. So, yeah, Jets are my loser just because they always lose. It's a safe bet.
Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew.
No, I kind of went a similar route. The Saints probably had the worst. I mean, in my opinion, had one of the worst drafts.
I agree.
Obviously, you get Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas, as your first pick, which best player available. I'm fine with that. But then you go into your second round and you're looking at the quarterback. The quarterback's left in the draft, and you pick a 25-year-old Tyler Shuck out of Louisville. Doesn't really make sense to me. Obviously, Derek Carr's had the injury history or whatever, but it's fine. And then you have Spencer Rattler still on that roster. Who's going to start? Day one, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they'll battle it out. Maybe he'll be like a locker room guy for them at best. And then I just look down their draft. I mean, nothing crazy. I mean, Jonas Sanker out of Virginia. I think he had a decent year. Obviously, you beef up the defense a little bit. I think Tyrann Mathieu, did he leave in the offseason? He's got like one more year on his deal, so he's getting older. You got to address that. And then they pick up a tight end out of UCLA, which I think that was probably their best pick later, day 3. And then an edge out of Syracuse. Nothing crazy for the Saints. Obviously, I don't know exactly what they needed, but if at first glance, Saints didn't get much better this draft, if any.
And again, you're looking at a team that they're nowhere near a playoff window. Their average team age is over 30 years old. They're in a weird spot of holding on to a few guys that were there in that Drew Brees era, but as well, they can't really get the guys they've gotten since Drew Brees to really do anything. Again, you look over the past years, I mean, number one, the biggest thing is they have not had anyone throwing the ball well. Derek Carr, shout out to him for fleecing the Saints, man. I mean, obviously getting all that money, but he's not a talented quarterback. I don't think Spencer Rattler is very well. The coaching carousel, they've been over the cap for so many years. Again, they can't figure out. You have an aging Alvin Kamara. I mean, the only bright spot on that team, I would really argue, is Chris Olave. But even he doesn't even look that good because no one can throw him the ball.
Exactly.
So.
And he's had a lot of concussions.
Again. But you would too if every ball is getting overthrown and you got to put your whole body on the line just to try and make a catch. Again, his lack of production is 100% the Saints' offense. It's nothing to do with him. And I think that that quarterback at Louisville is not going to solve anything. That dude's going to be 30 years old by the time his rookie contract is done. And again, you look at other quarterbacks on the board. Again, Shedeur was there. Heck, I would even say Gabriel Dillon is a better quarterback than him. Jalen Milroe. Will Howard. And literally, I think that he was probably the worst quarterback in the draft out of all the quarterbacks taken, and they got him in the second round. You could have gotten a running back. You could have gotten defense. There are so many guys. You could have gotten another corner. There are 100 things that you needed more than. And I wouldn't have hated the quarterback pick if they got a better quarterback.
Sure.
But you just wasted your second round pick.
Yeah.
So.
I would like to give a shout out to them. 6th round pick, Devin Neal. I think that's a good pick, even if their draft overall wasn't great. Coming from Kansas, this guy's a stud. He had 3 1,000-yard rushing seasons at Kansas. First player to do that at Kansas. So I think he's going to be a bright spot on that team next year, which sucks because I hope the Panthers are putting them in their place next year. But Devin Neal's a good pick. So.
We'll see what Kellen Moore does with that team. Obviously, first year, coming from the Eagles. Man, it's tough to see because he has nothing really to work with. But if anybody can put something together, I guess it's Kellen. He's done a really great job in the past.
No doubt.
But that's my take on the Saints.
Yeah. For our last losers of the draft, before we move on to specific players, I would say the Steelers. They have a massive question mark at their quarterback position. At the end of the day, if you're suiting up for Mike Tomlin, you're going to win 8, 9 games. You're going to break 500, but that's not where you want to be. The Steelers right now, they got Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, and then they drafted Will Howard. Someone tell me what you're going to do with that. There is nothing you can possibly do with that. You don't have anybody in that room that's a veteran. You could say Mason Rudolph's a veteran. This is his 4th team already, and I don't even know if he's gotten a second contract. But I just don't see it. Wasting your picks like this is just doesn't make sense. They used their 2nd round pick to get DK Metcalf. That's probably one of the only bright spots in their draft. But besides that. Maybe they're planning on signing Rodgers. We'll see, but right now I have them as my loser.
I will say I really like the Jack Sawyer pick out of Ohio State. He's going to be a leader for that team for sure. A team whose identity is defense, who plays on the defensive side of the ball. I think Jack Sawyer is going to be a leader within 2 years on that team, assuming that he stays healthy. Obviously, he's a little bit older, but captain at Ohio State, I think it'll translate personally. And then like you said, maybe we know something. Maybe they know something we don't about Aaron Rodgers. That's the only thing I can think of is why they didn't take a quarterback in the 1st or 2nd round or 3rd round. I guess Aaron might be a Steeler next year, it's TBD. But I like Will Howard. He's a solid, obviously a national champion or whatever. But is he going to move the needle that much for the Steelers next year? Is he going to play over Mason Rudolph? We'll see. But yeah, I didn't like the Steelers draft that.
I think they got a stout defense, and I think he's getting younger. Jack Sawyer's a great pickup. Derek Harmon's a great pickup. Peyton Wilson was a great pick last year. He racked up a lot of tackles. So I think they're blending vets with youth really well. Obviously they need to. Their struggles aren't defense, but it doesn't hurt to make your defense better when you can. So if that's what they know, that's what they know. DK was a great pickup this offseason. I don't think they'll be that bad. I think they'll be right in the mix of the playoff hunt, kind of where they were last year. It all kind of hinges on Aaron Rodgers for sure. If he's there, I think it puts him over the edge, even in his advanced age. But yeah, I don't hate the Steelers that much, but I could see where the quarterback thing could be an issue.
All right, moving on. Which rookies do you guys think will have the biggest impact in year 1?
Again, I got to look at rookies that went to work-in-progress teams like the Giants, the Browns. Again, I think that guys you're going to see have instant the Jaguars, you're going to look at guys, teams that they need so much help. So I'm going to give you 3 players that I think are going to have just immediate impact on their teams out of the gate. Number 1, obviously, I got to go Travis Hunter.
Sure.
Again, I don't know exactly to the level of what he's going to play, what he's going to do, but he is going to see the field day one. I've never seen a franchise so excited about drafting a guy than the Jaguars were about Travis Hunter. I mean, they were comparing this guy to anybody. They were praising him almost. It was kind of crazy to see. So no matter what side of the ball he's going to play, he's going to be a target. He's going to be a guy that they want to play, and he's a culture guy for that team. Whether or not that ends up panning out, I don't know, but he is an instant impact guy for that franchise. Number 2, obvious pick here, Abdul Carter.
Sure.
I don't really know exactly how the Giants are going to utilize him at first, because again, I have to look at the Giants. They got Sexy Dexy, they got Brian Burns, they got Kayvon. I mean, their defensive line was stacked. So where does Abdul Carter play into all of this? And you can't not start Abdul Carter. If he's healthy day one, you play Abdul Carter. So again, I think that he is just going to be. He is probably going to be one of your front runners for defensive rookie of the year. I'm super excited to see him play. And again, it's good for the Giants because now they have some trade capital. They have more depth. But again, I think that he's going to be such an exciting player to watch. And number 3, a guy that I really love and I'm super excited to watch for is Malachi Starks on the Ravens, a guy that fell kind of later in the first round. But the Ravens know how to draft secondary. The one thing that they do better than any other team is they can draft secondary players. So I'm excited to see. He is going to be an incredible addition with Kyle Hamilton back there. Actually, I don't think Kyle Hamilton is on the Ravens anymore, is he?
You're right. Trust yourself.
Okay. So they're going to be an exciting duo to watch. Again, I think they know how to draft those guys. They hit on those picks often. So I think you're going to look at a guy that's going to make an instant impact on that team defensively, and he's going to be fun to watch this season.
I think Mike Green's a great pickup for them as well. They're blending youth just like Pittsburgh. They saw Pittsburgh. They said we're going to match you with Malachi Starks and Mike Green. Yeah. Mike Green led college football in sacks last year, and he's going to an already loaded defensive team. They're going to be fun. They are pumping up the contender list. I think they're getting better.
I think the whole AFC North is going to be like insanely competitive and insanely fun to watch. Especially like in the trenches. The Browns picking up, obviously they got their guy Mason Graham across from Myles Garrett, and then like you said, Mike Green, maybe some off the field stuff. I mean, we don't know. We'll see, but I love that guy out of the Ravens, and just their whole defense in general. I think it's going to be a powerhouse next year for sure.
Yeah. So let's slide over to the West. I'm looking at Ashton Genty for the Raiders.
Yeah.
When you look at this guy, there's no way he's not going to have a big impact on this team. This team was very bad rushing the ball last season. I mean, that's why you spend your first round pick on Ashton Genty. It completely changes your offense for the better. Just hand the ball off to this guy 20 times a game. You'll be putting up points. We'll see what they can do with their O-line, get some run blocking going. But I think Ashton Genty's going to have a huge impact for the Raiders.
I don't hate that. Again, but here's what I'm going to say about Ashton Genty and running backs in general. Genty, obviously, one incredible player coming out of college. However, do you know how many 5'9" running backs have had long careers and had multiple years of good production? I'll save you the time. There's one. His name's Barry Sanders.
Sure.
Every single 5'9" running back, and again, we got to be specific here. I'm talking 5'9", not 5'10", not 5'11", not 5'9" running backs. They do not pan out in the NFL. Outside of Barry Sanders, who is arguably the greatest running back of all time, 5'9" running backs do not have long careers, and they do not have multiple seasons of success. Again, it happens sometimes. J.K. Dobbins, or not J.K. Dobbins. Austin Eckler is 5'9". He had two, 3 good years. Again, never really got, injury prone, kind of fell off. Again, you see this with 5'9" running backs. Their careers are short and are not very productive. So I don't want to write him off because he's such a unique player, but at the same time, that stat cannot be ignored. And again, I would love to see him do well, but again, I don't know. It's super rare for those 5'9" running backs to really to take off.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I agree. But for me, I'm gonna stick in the AFC West as well. A guy that I really liked was Amarian Hampton out of the Chargers, coming out of UNC.
Yep.
Go Heels. But I think he's going to be a day one starter. Obviously, some questions in their running back room. They just picked up Najee. I think JK's still a free agent at this point in time, unless he just got signed in like the last 20 minutes. But I think he's going to get some valuable minutes. And one thing we know about Harbaugh is he's going to pound the rock.
Yep.
So he's going to get touches for sure. And I think they still have who else in their backfield? It's
Gus Edwards, I believe, is still on that team.
Okay, so they got some dogs in the backfield. I think Hampton's gonna get some touches, and don't be surprised if he goes crazy this year for sure.
Again, I gotta look at I think you're right. Again, I think Najee is the sour to Amarian Hampton's sweet. Najee is gonna be, obviously he hasn't been that 1,000-yard rusher, but he is a run in the tackle. He's gonna get you 3 yards. He's gonna be your goal line back. And Hampton, man, he's going to be that get on the outside guy. Again, you look at teams, the way they're shifting into that committee running back system.
Yeah.
Not to mention, again, like you say, Harbaugh, if he does anything, he will run the football. So again, I think that was an incredible pickup. I'm surprised he fell out of the second round.
Correction, 1,000 yards every year of his career. I'm going to throw that out there for all the Najee defenders.
There you go. I don't know.
Not flashy, but he's getting there. So
but again, you look at, he's going to be that in between the tackle guy. Hampton's going to be that get on the outside guy.
Yeah, high volume, small yards.
Yep.
Small yards.
Yep.
For sure.
I got a couple I like. I think Travis Hunter's going to be great. Enough said. I think Cam Ward is also going to be great. I think he's the real deal. I think he's a hard-working guy. He was unrecruited when he came out of high school. Worked for everything to get to the #1 pick. So I don't think that stops now. I think the grind is just starting for him. Teteroa McMillan is going to ball next year. He's huge in every definition of the word. So I think he adds a lot. Bryce Young is the man, so it's going to be jump balls galore. Chalk him up for about 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's a great class. I think Jahad Campbell's going to be nice. All these players are good. Will Campbell, big pickup for the Patriots. I like that. Got to protect your guy. That's all I got.
I think another receiver in the NFC South that I really liked in this draft was Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be. I mean, Ohio State wide receivers have been recently very, very well rounded, especially in the NFL. Obviously, you have an aging Mike Evans. Chris Godwin, you're not entirely sure about his health situation. So I think picking him there, was it the best player available? We don't know. But I think for their team need and just for a guy that Baker can count on in the slot, deep yardage, whatever it may be, I think that was a great pick for them. I think another 1,000-yard receiver there, just maybe as Ted goes for 1,000 yards.
Well, and again, I think that you're looking at a guy who, again, you can't pass up on, but you're drafting for the future a little bit too.
Exactly.
Again, Mike Evans getting older every year. Chris Godwin can't stay healthy. Mbuka I'm excited. I think that he's going to be a fun player to watch for Tampa. I hate that they got him. I hate Tampa more than anything on the planet. But again, I got to give credit where it's due. I think that they got a good guy there in the second round, and I think it'll be exciting to watch. Good for them on that. So moving on from that, guys, obviously we need to talk about some surprises. Guys that went too early, guys that fell too late. And we are, of course, our first guy we're going to talk about, addressing the elephant in the room. How does Shedeur Sanders fall to the 5th round? A player that had over 4,000 passing yards with one of the worst rated power conference offensive lines in the nation. How do you let a guy like that fall to the 5th round? Were the things I saw, obviously it seems like he didn't have great interviews.
Right.
Again, I think that there's probably some drama with the media, I would imagine. You know, he is a little, he is definitely a little arrogant. I don't think that's a problem necessarily. I don't think that's a problem at all. Most football players that are expected to go high are arrogant. They're confident, they're full of themselves, and I would argue that that's a good thing more than a bad thing. So again, I don't understand what the thought process was for these franchises. I don't know how you can sit here and say that Louisville quarterback is better than Shedeur or Gabriel was better than Shedeur. I don't know how you can say that because it's just not true. It's just not true.
From what I can gather, it was kind of a perfect storm of events. You know, I think Shedeur was expecting to go top 5, so he probably only interviewed or really worked closely with the top 5 teams on the board. And if you're not talking to 28 other teams, they're not going to have you on their radar. Even in the later rounds, like there's a lot of drop off in talent in the NFL. So you got to try to find it where you can. And if you're not looking, if you haven't done homework on a guy, you're not going to pick him. I guess he didn't interview well. Obviously, I'm not sitting in those rooms. I thought he played great this past year at Colorado. He passes the eye test, in my opinion. I mean, I think it's a good pick for Cleveland just because, what the heck, it's a 5th round pick. It's up to him to show he can play, prove these guys wrong. I don't think there was some kind of conspiracy to keep him out of the league or keep him out of the 1st round. Maybe he just didn't interview well. And I feel like that happens all the time. I don't think Rob Gronkowski interviewed very well. Via his words, he fell asleep in the interview with the Patriots. So, yeah, it was a weird situation, but I feel like it happens every now and then.
I mean, there's been, it's a unique situation because there's been reports out saying that GMs and owners of teams have told the GMs and coaches to take him off of their big board. So there has to be something that we don't know that hasn't been announced or released that he was doing, saying something to turn off these owners. Beyond that, some things that his dad has said. Now, Deion Sanders, big name, one of the best corners we've seen in the league. Successful, well, semi-successful coach at Colorado, successful at Jackson State, but he has publicly said that he would come after the coach's job of whatever team drafts Shedeur. If I'm a coach hearing that, I do not want to take that player, because I mean, I'd be on a short list to lose my job if the season didn't go well. I don't like that feeling. I think that along with the potentially bad interviews is a good reason why he dropped. And also this year, there weren't that many quarterback needy teams. Like, we saw some good quarterback play last season from young guys and teams that have young guys who think they could step up this season. J.J. McCarthy. What do you guys think?
I agree with that, actually. In the last 2 drafts, we've had, 8 or 9 quarterbacks go in the 1st round or somewhere around that number. And I think every one last year was a hit, except for JJ, just because he was hurt. And from everything we're hearing out of that building, he's the guy. So I think Bryce, C.J. Stroud, J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams,
Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson.
I'm arguing.
Maybe,
I'm using
maybe.
him as a thing to go against your point.
That's the one. That's the one out of the last 7 or 8 guys. So 8 guys is a quarter of the league. Plus you got 10 guys already that are like bona fide stars in this league. So it's there's not a lot of starting opportunities. So I agree. I don't think there was a lot of teams out there trying to get the quarterback of the future. I would also like to point out that Cleveland, their quarterback battle, there are like 5 guys in that quarterback room. If we're counting Deshaun Watson, which I guess he's not playing this year, so we don't have to count him. But there's 4 guys that are going to be battling in camp. And based on draft position, Shedeur is at the bottom of the totem pole on that. So he's got to work his way up the depth chart. I think this is a blessing in disguise for him because they also brought in another rookie, Dylan Gabriel, who's also going to be clawing his way up, trying to get into the starting spot. So anything he gets in this, it's not going to be handed to him. He's going to have to earn it, and he's going to have to prove everybody wrong, and I hope he does it because who's preying on anybody's downfall? That's childish.
Yeah, and I actually really like Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon.
I don't. I think it was a stupid pick. I don't think he should have been drafted.
Lefties.
I think he was picked a little high, but I mean his stats. He's put up numbers 4 seasons in a row, whether that be at Oregon or whatever team he was at before. I forgot.
Oklahoma.
He's too old, man.
Oklahoma. But I mean, you have that experience, that starting experience. Shedeur had 1 good year in whatever the division the Buffs are in. Doesn't matter.
Big 12, stand up.
I think
1 good season there. Like
Again-
I just don't see it. The GMs want more numbers than 1 season.
But Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships, and he's not even. Look what happened to him. He was older than Gabriel when he came out of when he went into the draft, and he didn't. He hasn't done anything. These guys there's a reason these guys stay in college until they're middle-aged men, and that's because they talk to these teams. They know they're not going to get drafted high. So I don't know why, because in college he was a good quarterback, but you see this all the time. These old guys go to the NFL and never make it. Shedeur was I don't think there is going to be a competition there. I think it's going to be Shedeur is going to be the number 1 quarterback on this roster. Kenny Pickett? Are you kidding me? Kenny Pickett? He's going to get cut before the preseason starts.
not a big Flacco guy.
I like Flacco. He's 1,000,000 years old.
He's gonna be starting.
So
Yeah, what's your problem with Kenny Pickett? Because he's been serviceable. He's not been
Super Bowl
great.
champ. Hey, Super Bowl
Super
champ.
Bowl champ, and he's serviceable. Kenny Pickett is a good baseline to have as in your quarterback room. He's a good backup.
I'm well, okay.
I think he's limited, but he's not the worst
So-
quarterback of all time.
Like in the,
Sure, you look at him, maybe he's a backup, but again, even with I don't think you can say he's better than Shedeur.
I didn't say he was better than Shedeur. I said Shedeur was a 5th round pick, and he's going into this room as the 4th guy on the depth chart. He's got to work his way up the depth chart. That's what it is. That's what it is, regardless of what you think. That's how it is. That's how it's going to be.
But that's not even that's just not even necessarily true because the depth chart ain't out yet. Just because you're drafted a little later doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be the bottom of the depth chart at that position.
Well, clearly they valued Dylan Gabriel above Shedeur Sanders in the draft process. So that's going to give some insight into how they organize their depth chart. This is very.
Because man, the depth chart isn't official until week 1.
Okay.
You don't know how the preseason's gonna go. Now they might announce.
It's a camp fight. They're going to fight through camp. That's how this works.
But there's no official depth chart on that.
So you think Shedeur's already QB1, walking in there as the 2nd quarterback they took in the draft. It just happened last week.
Well, I don't think he's QB4. I don't think there is a QB1 on that team right now.
I'll give you my input. QB1's Flacco right now. QB2's Kenny Pickett. 3 is Gabriel. 4 is Shedeur. That's what it's looking like.
Disagree.
Now,
I don't even think Flacco could be number 1.
Flacco's definitely going in.
I agree. Flacco's definitely number 1. Now, I think if Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders both have a really good camp, we can see them both edging out Kenny Pickett for the roster spots. I think we could see the Browns rolling with 3 quarterbacks on their roster this season. Joe Flacco starting at least 6 to 10 games and then they might pass it off to whoever's in that second spot. I think would be Dylan Gabriel. They also think would be Dylan Gabriel because they spent a higher draft pick on him. I think Shedeur would slide in there at the third spot.
I disagree. I think that you guys you're being too.
And what?
Shedeur statistically was the second best quarterback in the draft. He's a more talented player than Gabriel. I think he's a more talented player than Kenny Pickett. Again, you might start Flacco just for that veteran experience. Let him sit and learn, and then I'm not against him sitting at the first half of the season. Lose your games, let him come in, then there's no pressure. However, I don't know how you guys are underselling this talented guy.
We're not underselling. I like Shedeur.
But you're saying that he's not. He is going to be higher on the depth chart at the end of at the beginning of the season.
Do you know how far away that is? That's 4 months away.
So let me ask you this, Lewis.
Go ahead.
If Shedeur is better, by all means, why would they draft Dylan Gabriel ahead of him? Statistically, if Shedeur is a better player, why is Gabriel getting drafted ahead of him?
Why did all the quarterbacks that got taken ahead of him? I'm not an
And
NFL
here's what I'll
GM.
say
I
to
don't
that.
know.
Here's what I'll say to that. I think it's not the lack of talent. I think he has all the intangibles. I think his ceiling is incredibly high, obviously just based off of his name. I think the reason he gets drafted is because he will sell tickets. That just based off of his name, Shedeur Sanders will sell tickets. I guarantee the Browns will have more live televised games this year than they have in the past 3 or 4 years combined. I guarantee that. Just based, and whether he plays a snap or not, I think that's going to be the case.
Obviously, I think when cuts come around, Kenny Pickett's the odd man out in this group. In this room, it's definitely Kenny Pickett. You can't cut 2 guys you just drafted this spring unless one of them is horrible. And unless Kenny Pickett runs away with the starting job, you're not going to cut Flacco because Flacco is the only grown-up in the room. So that's my thought process on that. I don't understand why you're so up in arms about Shedeur being number 4 because that's what he's going in as right now. That's what it looks like.
Not that you can't change that.
And that's not set in stone by any means.
But what my problem though is you're already saying.
I'm not writing him off.
You're saying.
I told you I like this
at
position.
the beginning of the season. But even Luke was saying 6 to 10 games in, he's going to be that bottom guy. There's no way that's going to be true.
I don't think that's what he said.
That's exactly what he said.
No,
He's not going to be the
that's not
bottom
what
guy.
You said Flacco's going to come. Flacco's probably going to be the starter, assuming Deshaun Watson doesn't play this year, which I haven't seen anything about that. I'm not denying what
He
you said.
retore his Achilles, and that's a
I've heard
very
it.
long
But,
recovery process.
Again, I don't know. I think they should ditch him anyway. But Flacco comes in, like you said, 6 to 10, and then you said they start Gabriel. Why?
Because he was a higher pick.
That doesn't mean anything.
This is speculative. There's been no
Okay.
OTAs. There's been no camp.
I'm saying that.
You got to go
You're comparing a 4th round pick to a 5th round pick, dude.
3rd round pick to a 5th round pick, 6th round pick, 5th round pick. Sorry. They valued Gabriel more. They took him earlier.
That's
Obviously, at this
purely what I'm
exactly. Obviously, at this point in the offseason, through the very limited exposure they've had to both of these guys, Gabriel is higher on their charts than Shedeur is. That's indisputable.
Okay.
Now we're not sitting here saying that Shedeur's play is why we think he's not going to be that guy. Not even that we're saying we don't think he's going to be that guy. I think with time he will be that guy. I do think Dylan Gabriel is going to be higher on their depth chart to start because they valued him higher, like Tyler said. But in years to come, Shedeur is going to be that guy. Whether he is that guy in the locker room or that guy on the field, he's going to be on the team. His name alone is going to sell jerseys. They're going to keep him around, whether it be as 3rd string or as the starter. He's going to be on the team.
Yeah, he's going to get his chance for sure. There's no doubt about that. You don't just draft a guy of that stature and of that nature and you're just not going to play him. You're just going to let him sit behind Kenny Pickett. That's not going to happen. Obviously, he's going to get a chance to play in the NFL. Now, whether he stays with the Browns, we'll see. But yeah, like Luke said, just his name alone is going to get him to where he needs to be. It's going to give him the chance to get where he needs to be.
Also, there's a chance neither one of these guys is even on the team next year. They are late round picks. Cleveland got an extra first rounder in the trade with Jacksonville. And if there's a guy that separates himself from the pack next year, Cleveland will be in the mix to trade up and get that guy. So, yeah, they're not even in a position where like they have to lose games. They're gonna have multiple first rounders. They will be flexible. Expect Cleveland to draft a quarterback early next year too. Then you won't be disappointed when Shitter sucks, or Dylan Gabriel sucks, or everybody is good and they have to move one of them and they can go BPA and not worry about quarterback play next year. Just depends.
A lot of question marks.
Only time will tell, I guess.
It's gonna be entertaining. Put them on Hard Knocks.
That's what we love to eat.
HBO, Hard Knocks,
That would
right
be
here.
good Hard Knocks. That would be good Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from that, another guy I'm surprised that fell so far. Both Amarion Hampton and Will Johnson, two guys that I had going in the first round. I'm surprised that they fell into the second round. Again, I know Will Johnson battling those injuries.
Mm-hmm.
However, again, I feel like being just such a, again, he's young. He's just such a talented corner coming out of Michigan. I just can't believe that he fell. Shout out to Arizona for drafting him. He's going to be the next Patrick Peterson. And excited for that. Marlon Hampton, again, I thought he was in my opinion, I thought he was, one of the better running backs in the draft. Just because of he's a little more do-it-all than the other guys. Falling to the second round, I like the team he went to. I think that's good for him. I really thought Denver should have drafted him personally. Denver's biggest hole on their team was running back. He was sitting in their pocket. Could have drafted him. Didn't. Big shock on that. And I'm surprised Scadaboo fell into day 3. Again, if you're looking at another 5'9" guy, and my opinions on the 5'9" guys aren't going to change. However, at the same time, again, he had such a good college season. There were teams that needed running backs. I feel like there were players that were drafted ahead of him that weren't necessarily as good as him. So those are my 3 guys. And one team I want to talk about that I'm a little surprised, I'm confused on the direction they're going in is the Rams. The Rams are both such an old team and such a young team. This is another team where I'm surprised they didn't even try and go after a quarterback.
I'm not surprised.
Again, I'm not necessarily in the fact that they're trying to replace Stafford, but look, there was some quarterback talent in this draft, and you could draft a guy, let him sit behind Stafford, in my mind at least, but again, I guess they're in that mindset of we could still win now. We could still make another Super Bowl run, and maybe they can. But that's just my thoughts.
My speculative opinion on the Rams is that they did work on the guys in this draft, and they probably just weren't impressed to do something in the first round. I think that's why they traded out and got an extra first rounder next year. So similar situation to Cleveland, they can be flexible. They can win games this year. They can make the playoffs and still move up and get their guy next year, and not have to sell the farm. That's what I'm going to bet. I think they're going to be in the mix for a quarterback next year. They still haven't had a first-round selection, and when next year's draft rolls around, it'll be 10 years. So just a very well-run program that don't be surprised if they go quarterback next year. Don't be surprised if they don't. Stafford is getting old, and we don't know. But I would expect him to go quarterback early next year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's not a world where I don't trust whatever Sean McVay is doing. One of my favorite coaches in the league. You can see his coaching prowess from coaches that have coached underneath him, coming out and coaching other teams, having winning records.
Good looking guy too.
Oh yeah, young too. So he still has a lot of good coaching in front of him. But where I would go with that is I could see them bringing in one of these guys, one of these quarterbacks that got drafted this year or last year potentially, kind of falling off, not getting that starting role, coming in under Matthew Stafford, sitting for a year or 2, and then Stafford will eventually pass it over to that guy. When Sean McVay sees that guy, he's going to know it's that guy, and he's going to be on the Rams. That's just what the Rams do. You can see that with not having any first-round picks for 10 years now. They sell the farm for that guy when they see that guy. They know their guy before they even have them. And, I mean, you can see it. The decisiveness, the decisiveness trading for Stafford paid off right away. Bringing in Puka Nacua right away. Like, there's more examples than that. Losing Aaron Donald, bringing in Kobe Turner. It just keeps going. So I'm not worried with what the Rams are doing. I could see maybe one of these Browns quarterbacks getting cut and going to the Rams.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what their depth looks like, but
It's
Matthew
not Jimmy
Stafford's
G on
gonna
that
be there.
roster. Jimmy
Garoppolo?
Yeah.
Room full of grown-ups to help the
Yeah.
young guys.
Stafford goes down. There's a guy right there to fill the spot, so I'm not worried about the Rams either.
Also, their roster is very well constructed to plug and play a young guy next year. They got a lot of guys on rookie deals. Got a lot of young guys, a lot of youth outside of Stafford himself. They've done a good job retooling their roster post Super Bowl win. So, just a very well-run organization at this moment in time. What's next? What we got?
To finish out this episode today, we're just going to kind of talk about, obviously, the two teams that we think that we're just talking about the Panthers draft class, obviously being Panthers fans, and then he's a Vikings fan, so going to be nice and let him talk about the Vikings draft class a little bit. So, but anyway, looking at the Panthers draft, I would really make an argument that they had a top 5 draft class this year. For teams, they were a top 5 team for the draft this year.
I would say it was our best draft in a while.
I think it's our best draft I've ever seen, especially under Tepper.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, you can't gauge these things immediately for sure, but
You just look at-
I love this draft.
You look
I
at
love
needs
Ted.
addressed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're in a position where we came on strong at the end of the year. We got a lot of holes defensively. I thought we shored up some things in free agency, which allowed us to go BPA, which was a really big luxury. I love Teteroa McMillan. I've already made that known. It's a great pick. Also, next 2 picks, Nick Scouton and Princely Umanumalian. 2 edges that could have gone in the first round, had been mocked in the first round. So you get good value there. And even further down the board, Trevor Etienne adds some
I like that pick.
versatility to the running back room. Chuba and Rico, I like those guys. They're not great receiving backs. This gives you that to the room. Also, questions around Jonathan Brooks. Is he going to be healthy? I really hope so. But this kind of eases some of the questions there. Lathan Ransom, not sure where he fits next year. Probably going to be behind Trevon Moehrig, but he hits hard. He loves to get downhill, and I love that quality. Cam Jackson, I think that's a good solid rotational pick. He's a huge guy, so anything to help with run defense, yes, from me.
And then I want to, especially 2 guys that I think our day 3 picks were just as good. I mean, Mitchell Evans, tight end at Notre Dame, dude's 6'5", 260. Again, he has those intangibles that you can't teach.
Look out, Tommy Tremble.
Yeah. Obviously, he's not the most productive down in the receiving game. Again, he only had 400 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. However, again, you get depth at that tight end position. You're going to have a guy that play on the opposite side of Jatavion Sanders. And this guy's he's a Swiss Army knife. This guy is, I think, the only true blocking tight end on our roster. And again, he can fit on those pass concepts. But again, you're looking at a guy that he's going to be on those outside run plays. I mean, you just drafted a 6th offensive lineman that can run, can catch as well. That's how I look at that pick. And again, pick 208 in the 6th round, Jimmy Horn. I love the Jimmy Horn pick. He's going to be such an exciting slot receiver. Again, you're probably looking at a returner guy for us as well, maybe. But again, I love that pick. I love that pick. I'm excited for that. So
I think what this draft says to me is the Panthers are all in on Bryce Young.
Oh,
You
yeah.
go and get a guy like Tet, and in the year prior you get a guy like Leggett. Right next to each other, 2 absolute trees, okay? Bryce, obviously a shorter quarterback, had a bit of a resurgence last year. There were some question marks early on.
I never questioned you, Bryce.
I think you're putting all your eggs into the Bryce Young basket this year, and I like it. Honestly, I do like it. Obviously, maybe maybe we could win defense there at pick 8, but you know that's neither here nor there.
I was
Well, again-
surprised. Jalon Walker was kind of the runaway favorite, and I'm glad we didn't go there. No hate to him, no shade, but we needed an edge rusher, and I think that would have been a reach. I don't know where we play him exactly, how he fits into our schemes. So I think let's go get the super tall guy that can catch balls and runs fast. So
Again, I wasn't huge on the T-Mac pick at all. I hated it.
I thought this was the no ball
I'll
pod.
be honest. I did not love the T-Mac pick, first round. However, you know, after talking, after cooling heads, reading and watching some stuff, again, you give Bryce Young a stud. And again, you got to look at 2 months ago. This guy was on the top of all the analyst draft boards,
Yeah.
and then he fell off because, you know, again, the stuff they say he doesn't do well, that can be taught. You can learn that. The 6'4", the 219, the 4'48", you can't teach that. That is raw ability.
Yeah.
So again, he can't run routes that well. Well, he can learn to run routes better. He can catch the ball great. I love him, XL. If he can learn, you know, develop more this offseason. And again, one thing that I really love that isn't being talked about enough with this pick specifically is Ted and Bryce Young worked out together this summer.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Bryce said this is the guy they want. They are listening to Bryce. The franchise as a whole has really turned to. I mean, we're buying into Bryce. If this is what he wants, this is what we're going to give him. I think obviously our defense was worse than our offense last year. Our defense was the worst defense in NFL history.
I
However,
don't disagree with that, but let's also add that they played an extra game than some of those other record-setting horrible defenses. So, yeah, they were bad, but let's not kick a dead man while he's down. I mean,
well, look, you can't ignore.
they were horrible. They were horrible. They were so bad.
You can't ignore the truth. But again, I think that we did everything right. We got another playmaker guy. Again, injury-prone, aging Adam Thielen. Love him to death. You need a guy. You need another guy to come in. You got that guy. Thielen can be your third guy. We have Coker, who I loved last year. Love to see him continue to develop. Our wide receiver room just got so much better. And now you have that short, quick, speedy guy in Jimmy Horn, who, if developed, he could be that Tyreek Hill kind of guy on your team,
Yeah.
that Puka guy on your team. Again, second and third rounds. Second round, we got. They said that this guy was a top 10 edge rusher in the class, and we got him in the second round. Traded up for him, right decision. Love the third round pick too. Trevor Etienne, running back, didn't make a ton of sense to me at first because I thought, you know, we had Chuba and Rico. But again, Jonathan Brooks most likely going to miss all season with ACL injury. Been disappointing with his injuries in his first season. Rico's only on a one-year deal. Chuba, obviously, we just signed him to a major deal, got him locked down. He hasn't been healthy once in his career. He hasn't played a full season. As a starting running back, he's never played a full season. I'm not saying he's bad, but he's just a little injury prone. So
I wouldn't call it prone. I would say he's had a couple of injuries.
he's gotten hurt every season. So I would consider that prone. But again, Trevor Etienne gives you that depth.
Yeah, for sure.
It gives you that can be your third guy. He can catch the ball a little better than these other guys. Again, he's also 5'9". My opinions on the 5'9" backs still remain. However, again,
We're not looking for him to be like a superstar.
well,
in the
yeah,
backfield.
we need. He's our come in on a couple plays a game, confuse the defense. If we need, he can catch a little better. Again, I don't expect him to be the number one, maybe even the number two guy on the team, but he will be one of your top three guys. He will be on your running back roster. He will make an impact. He can do things that the other two guys can't do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think he is going to be what Miles Sanders was supposed to be for that team.
Yep.
A guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield,
Yep.
be explosive, but also he's going to, if Chuba's tired, maybe help him take some plays off. That's all we really need from that position, honestly.
Lathan Ransom, again, when you start to get into these later rounds, again, you're trying to find diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
So
Betting on upside.
again, you're betting on his upside. He's not the fastest, but he's so strong, and he is a run-stopping safety, which is good because we didn't stop the run very good at all last year. Again, I think you can see him, especially down the stretch, come in, play opposite side of Trayvon. Again, with the loss of Xavier Woods this season, we need a safety now more than ever. Again, I would have loved to have seen a safety earlier in maybe day 1 or day 2, but at the same time, again, I can't hate on what we did because what we did is also what we needed. So we needed a safety. We drafted a safety. We'll see kind of how he pans out. He has upside, especially with his tackling and his run stopping abilities. So.
Is it crazy to say that they could have a plan to move him to linebacker?
I think you could see him as kind of like a nickel, the same way that because they did that with Jeremy Chin. They dropped him down as a nickel linebacker and kind of play those off-ball guys. So I don't think that's crazy to say because we've done that before.
I just think he's a good run defender. I think he's good up in the box, and I don't think he's great in coverage. So I hope they have a plan for him, and I hope he sees the field because I love how hard he hits.
Yeah.
So
I mean, again, you're looking for diamonds in the rough. It's day 3. The coverage stuff you can teach, you can try and develop.
Sure.
Again, you are drafting guys based off their upside. It's the 4th round. We needed a safety.
Yeah.
We got a safety. So, moving on from that, again, I think they had a good draft. The Panthers, just off of kind of how we're thinking, ceiling floor. I think we'll be better. I think floor we're probably 7-8 win team this year, and then I think as a ceiling, I don't see us winning more than 10 games just because we're young and inexperience is there and we're still building. However, we did get a lot better, and this is assuming that these picks work and Bryce continues on that trajectory.
so I think, to be fair, absolute floor, I think is 7 wins, 6-7 wins. Absolute ceiling, 11-12. I would put us around 10. I think we win in our division. I don't think it's gonna be an easy division to win just because I don't think anybody is that great. I think the Bucks should probably be the favorite. Atlanta.
Falcons got better for sure.
The Falcons got better. Penix played good last year. I'm not gonna hate, much as I don't like the Falcons. He played good. So I think Atlanta, Tampa, and Carolina are all in the mix for that. New Orleans is a long shot, but again, bad division, never know. I like where we're at. I think we'll win it. I think Bryce is going to be phenomenal. I think everybody's going to play good. 2nd year in the system. Buckle up.
It will be interesting to see who they keep wide receiver wise because they have so many. We just drafted 2 more, and then you pick up Hunter Renfrow. You also pick up Muhammad. So that's 4 more guys you just picked up in the last week or so, on top of who we already had on the roster. So not all of those guys are going to be on the roster. For sure. We might keep a few of them.
Probably about 6. So we'll probably keep about 6 is where we usually go. So,
Which again, especially there's some obvious guys that we'll keep, but it's those last 2 or 3 spots. I don't really know who that will be, and we probably won't really know that until training camp gets well underway.
Yeah.
Preseason ends.
my prediction is Tet, Leggett, Coker, Thielen.
Renfro.
I like Renfro. I hope he's not the odd man out. Jimmy Horn. I think David Moore is the odd guy out, but him and Canales are tight. That's why he's in the building. He's good to have in the room. So they might carry 7. If they carry 7, I'd love to have all 7 of those guys. Also, yeah, you never know what's gonna happen in camp. So
You can always put some of those guys into a punt returner slot too.
yeah,
It's not
and a lot of them will probably be around on the practice squad. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
All right.
So moving on to the Vikings.
Yeah,
How do you
let's
think?
go.
How
Yeah.
do you think the Vikings did this draft?
So, for the limited number of picks we had, I think they drafted pretty solid. I think the trades were good. Donovan Jackson, pick 24. I like that pick. We needed interior O-line, specifically left guard. That was our weakest spot after free agency, bringing in Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. Our O-line's looking great. I'm excited for that. Amazing situation for McCarthy to step onto the field in. Round 3, because we didn't have a second-round pick. Ty Felton out of Maryland. Decent pick. Our receiver room is ridiculously deep already. We didn't really need him. I trust the GM and coaches, though, so we'll see where that goes. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins out of the 5th round from Georgia. I don't really know anything about this guy. Georgia is all you need to tell me.
Yeah.
Georgia's defense is always good. If he was a starter on Georgia's defense, I'm cool with the pick, especially in the 5th round. Our D-line is pretty deep already, so hopefully he'll slide in there as a nice rotational guy for Brian Flores' defense. Kobe King out of Penn State. Decent pick. I would have liked the other Kobe that was on the board, the cornerback. Forget what his last name was. Yeah, I would have liked him at that pick, but that's fine. The 2 6th-round picks we got, we traded for our 5th that we received from the Rams when we traded for Sam Howell. So bringing in another tight end behind Hawkinson and Bartholomew. I like the pick. We'll see where that goes. Our tight end room is already pretty deep as well. Hawkinson and Josh Oliver, that's all you really need. Blocking tight end, pass catching tight end.
Well, again, in those late rounds, you're just diamond in the rough players.
Yeah, for sure. Like you're battling for upside at this point. Hawkinson's gonna be demanding a pretty hefty extension here coming up. So if Bartholomew's the type of player we need, we could potentially see a trade with Hawkinson.
But you put him in a tight end room where he can develop because of how talented.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have tight ends on both spectrums: pass blocking, pass catching.
Yep.
That's really all you need in our style of offense. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a great draft class. We'll see where they go from here. With 5 picks, that's great. We also brought in 20 UDFA tryouts. My favorite is probably the quarterback from Minnesota, Max Brommer. He had a great senior season. Could have been drafted in the late rounds. Not a big name. Went to a smaller school. Still a big school, but smaller for football. We'll see what he does. But I mean, O'Connell's a QB whisperer, so.
Yep, I like y'all's offseason.
roster.
I like it a lot. I think we're the gaping holes that were shown at the end of the season in the playoff game were filled. I mean, y'all struggled against the pass rush last year, against the Rams in that playoff game. So I think what you guys did this offseason, going early, interior line, getting another center, beefing it up, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, completely revamped O-line. Only 2 people that stayed as our 2 Pro Bowl tackles. 2 great players in Darrisaw and O'Neal. So I'm cool with that. The only thing I do see that could pose an issue right now is our cornerback room. Our secondary depth is kind of shallow right now. We let Cam Bynum walk and go sign with the Colts for over $40 million. I would have liked to sign him back. That would have been a great re-sign. But I think what we saw with Josh Metellus 2 years ago, where he stepped into the starting role after Xavier Woods left, he was a special teams nightmare, mismatching against anybody on special teams, and the coaches were betting on his upside. Never signed anybody, started him week 1, Pro Bowl player.
Yep.
I think that's what they're doing here with Theo Jackson. I mean, he played great special teams last year, so I see him sliding in to replace Cam Bynum. As far as the cornerbacks go, I could see a potential Jalen Ramsey signing coming up here soon. He'd be the only piece we need. Our defense would be on lock after that. But I think it was a great draft, and I think this has been a great episode of the pod.
Awesome. We got to just talk about one more thing. Obviously, we got to shout out the 2 Charlotte guys that going to the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
We got Chance Williams. He's going to Tampa Bay at minicamp. And the brother of Ike Ekwonu, Osita Ekwonu, is going to the Carolina Panthers. So obviously a staple on our defense last year. Happy to see him go on. So shout out to the 2 Charlotte guys making it to the NFL. So with that though, this
Can I
had,
get one more shout
yeah,
out?
of course.
Shout out Willie Nelson. Happy birthday yesterday,
Okay,
man.
well,
Love you, dog.
This isn't
Wrap
airing
it up.
until Wednesday, so it's
Well, happy birthday, Willie Nelson.
a week ago.
1 week ago, minus a day or plus a day.
Yep. All right. So this has been a great episode, guys. Obviously, want to thank y'all so much for coming by. This has been the No Ball Podcast. I'm Lewis with my co-host Luke. This is special guests Aiden and Tyler for giving up their time today to film. It's been awesome. So make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and go ahead and follow us on Instagram. The link is in the bio below. And with that, we will see you guys again next week.